The Minnesota Timberwolves has been one of the most disappointing franchises in the league since its founding in 1989. In the 1995 draft, the Timberwolves selected a power forward that would later go on to become an elite two-way player in Kevin Garnett, but unfortunately, they failed to pair him up with players that he needs to compete for a championship. The Kevin Garnett era in Minnesota ended as he ended up getting traded to the Boston Celtics, which forced the Timberwolves to start over. In 2008, the T-Wolves selected another great power forward in Kevin Love, who was an incredible rebounder and three-point shooter. During his time in Minnesota, K-Love was a perennial all-star, consistent 20 to 25 point scorer, and led the league in rebound one time. Despite his individual talent, the Timberwolves had never been able to make the playoffs, and the Kevin Love era inevitably came to an end. Then there's Jimmy Butler, who briefly took his talent to the Western Conference, played a gigantic role in leading the Wolves back to the playoffs, and as soon as the season was over, he demanded a trade, left many people wondering if the Timberwolves and the duo of Andrew Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns can stay afloat without him. "You fucking need me." What Jimmy Butler said left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. Suddenly, Butler was seen as a terrible leader. Towns was regarded as an overrated player that choked in the postseason, and Wiggins was labeled as a bust that can never improve. The Timberwolves made a great deal of changes after they got rid of Jimmy Butler. The first thing they did was fire Tom Thibodeau and letting Ryan Saunders be the man in charge. Thibodeau failed to elevate this team defensively, and the way he used Andrew Wiggins is at best questionable. The second thing they did was implement Josh Okogie into the defense and Jarrett Culver into the offense. This filled the Timberwolves' lungs with a breath of the fresh air. With the changes being made, this brand new Minnesota Timberwolves look truly great at first sight. After years of losing and failing to meet expectations, will the Timberwolves be able to secure a top 8 seed in the last year of the past decade? Will the Minnesota Timberwolves be able to accomplish what their predecessors failed to accomplish? The responsibility of taking the team to the playoffs falls mostly on the shoulder of Karl Anthony Towns, the Wolves' former first overall pick. Cat is a borderline top 15 player in the league, and last season he got selected to the All-Star game for the first time in his career. In the 77 games Towns played last season, he averaged 24.4 points, 12.4 rebounds, and 3.4 assists, which showed us how versatile of a player he is. Cat's greatness often gets overlooked because of how bad the Timberwolves were, but nobody can stop Towns from keep shining. Three-point shooting is one of the most lethal weapons of Karl Anthony Towns' game. Only 43 players in the league attempted over 200 three-point shots and shot over 40% on those attempts in either the 2017-2018 season or the 2018-2019 season. Of those 43, Towns is one of the 10 to hit that mark both seasons. Towns' shooting ability forced centers to react every time he gets a ball around the three-point line, which allowed him to fully utilize his explosiveness and quickness to drive and attack. It's easy to forget that Cat is also capable of scoring in a way that reminds people of the old days in an era where most centers are used as pure finishers and shooters. He was one of 5 players last season to post up over 250 times and to average over 1 point scored per possession in those situations percentage sports. It's a level of dominance just a tick lower than Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard's effectiveness in isolation situations. Defense is always considered to be the weaker part of Cat's game, and indeed he had been one of the worst defenders in the league. You often caught Towns freezing while guarding pick and rolls or protecting the rim when he had no idea how to use his physical tools effectively. In the 2016-2017 season, Karl Anthony Towns was ranked dead last in defensive real plus minus among centers. In the 2017-2018 season, Karl Anthony Towns was ranked 38th in defensive real plus minus among centers. Even though Cat still struggles on the defensive side of the floor from time to time, he has been taking steps toward the right direction. One of the biggest reasons why the Brooklyn Nets failed to bring home the victory in Kyrie Irving's debut this season is because Cat played terrific defense. Over the first 3 games of the regular season, Towns averaged 2 blocks and 3 steals per game, which deserves a lot of praise. Towns are most likely going to have another All-NBA caliber season, and the fact that the Timberwolves had a top 15 player on the roster should keep many Wolves fans optimistic. However, the other first overall pick on the team is viewed a lot differently, and whether or not he can improve his game will be key to the Timberwolves finding success in the regular season. And the player that I'm going to talk about is Andrew Wiggins. When the Timberwolves traded Kevin Love to the Cavaliers for the 2014 first overall pick, Andrew Wiggins, they were expecting him to be the savior of the franchise. Young, lazy, athletic, he looked like Andrew Wiggins was destined to become the league's next superstar. Thanks to Ryan Saunders and Sam Mitchell's coaching style, Wiggins kept making progress as a player. In the 2016-2017 season, Andrew Wiggins averaged 23.6 points, 4 rebounds, and 2.3 assists. In the same offseason, the T-Wolves signed Jeff Teague, who had a good season playing alongside Paul George, and traded for Jimmy Butler, one of Tom Thibodeau's favorite players and a 3-time All-Star. However, the growth of Andrew Wiggins plateaued and he even started to show some signs of declining at the young age of 22. Firstly, I want to say that it's unfair to put all the blame on Andrew Wiggins because how he was used in the first 3 years of his career and how he was used in the last 2 years are entirely different. Ryan Saunders and Sam Mitchell tried to hide Wiggins' weakness as a ball handler and passer by letting Andrew be a scorer in the post, and it worked perfectly. Andrew Wiggins averaged around 4 post-ups per game in the 2015-2016 season. He transformed 46.1% of his post-up attempts into field goals. Putting Andrew Wiggins in the post helped build his confidence and gave rise to his ascension. But to many people's surprise, Wiggins stopped taking his opponents to the post after spending a short of 1 season sharing the court with Jimmy Butler, and Tom Thibodeau forced Wiggins into being a player that he wasn't and possibly could never be. Standing in the corner, catching and shoot, being the third option behind Jimmy and Cat caused Wiggins to struggle heavily. 17.7 points, 4.4 rebounds, and 2 assists. Wiggins had arguably the worst season of his career in 2018. Now, let's shift the attention back to Andrew Wiggins himself. At the start of the 2018-2019 season, the general consensus was that Andrew Wiggins would bounce back after Jimmy Butler got traded and Tom Thibodeau got fired. But Andrew kept disappointing and his game kept falling. Wiggins averaged 18.1 points, 4.8 rebounds, and 1 assist, but had one of the most inefficient seasons of all time. As a shooter, Wiggins preferred shooting long 2-pointers, but last season, Wiggins only made 33.9% of his jumpers from 8 to 16 feet, and he had a shockingly low 50% true shooting percentage, which is far below average. As a shot creator, Wiggins' pick and roll efficiency has precipitously gotten worse the last 4 seasons: 0.85 points per possession in 2015 and 2016, 0.83 points per possession in 2016 and 2017, 0.8 points in 2017 and 2018, and a team worst 0.74 points per possession in 2018 and 2019. The score, Andrew Wiggins only scored 0.81 points per possession in isolation situations, which is also terrible. How Andrew Wiggins will perform this season have massive impact on the Timberwolves this year. Based on what we have seen so far this season, Andrew has made some slight adjustment to his game. He used his explosiveness to attack the rim more. He began making more threes. Sam Saunders is using Andrew Wiggins in a way that can maximize his strengths and hide his weakness. Will Andrew Wiggins have a breakout season in 2020? I don't know. And we probably will never know. What I do know is that the Timberwolves will have a much better record if Wiggins keeps improving in the new season. And if he keeps improving, the Timberwolves will keep getting better and better. The Minnesota Timberwolves are ready to fight for a playoff spot in 2020. They have 2 great role players in Jake Layman and Robert Covington. Jeff Teague has passed his prime but can still hoop, dunk, overlook them. So people, that's all I have to say. If you like this video, subscribe, hit that like button, and leave a comment down below to show me what your opinions are. What do you think of Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins? With that being said, I wish you guys can have a nice day, and I am out. Peace.